بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وأعنا على العمل بما علمتنا. Oh Allah, we ask you to teach us what benefit us and let us benefit from what we learn, and increase our knowledge and let us practice what we learn. This is lesson number 27, alhamdulillah, from the series Knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And today, inshaAllah, we are going to talk about one of Allah's name and Allah's character, Al-Hasib. Al-Hasib is translated into English. It doesn't really give it the true meaning of it. So I'm just going to mention the name Al-Hasib every time, but I'm going to explain the several meanings that means with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Hasib in English is translated in some references to the Reckoner, and the other one is the bringer of judgment. But we will explain inshallah what Al-Hasib mean, and then how are we going to practice this into real life. Okay, this is not a song of Allah's name and character. This is a practice, real life practice for Allah's names. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran Kareem, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وكفى بالله حسيبا. Allah is sufficient to take or keep account. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إن الله كان على كل شيء حسيبا. Allah take account of all things. The meaning of this name Al-Hasib has several meanings in Arabic and that's related to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first meaning of Al-Hasib, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to hold each one of us accountable of what we do. There is no escape. Everything you do, you are going to be asked about. You will be held accountable for. Allah says in the Quran Kareem, فَوَرَبِّكَ لَنَسْأَلَنَّهُمْ أَجْمَعِينَ عَمَّا كَانُوا يَعْمَلُونَ. The strength in this ayah, فَوَرَبِّكَ. وَرَبِّكَ is swearing. فَوَرَبِّكَ is a double, triple, 100 million times swearing. That's more emphasis. There is no escape. That Allah says He will ask all of us about everything we do. Muslims, non-Muslims, believers, non-believers, from Adam alayhi salam until the day of judgment. And Allah is swearing by this. He's not just telling you. So everything you say and everything you do, you are going to be asked about. That's one of the meaning of Al-Hasib. You are going to be held accountable for everything you do. The second meaning of Al-Hasib is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran Kareem, الذين قال لهم الناس إن الناس قد جمعوا لكم فاخشوهم فزادهم إيمانا وقالوا حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. People told the true believers, be afraid, be scared, be prepared of those people who are prepared things for you. They are going to harm you. They are going to do things to you. This was taught to the true believers. So the true believers, their true iman and belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increased when people told them, oh, they're going to kick you out of here. Oh, they're going to put you in concentration camps. They're going to kill you. Their belief in Allah actually increased. And instead of getting scared and chasing news and frightening yourself and frightening others, these true believers, they believe increased in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And they said, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. And this is the second meaning of the name Al-Hasib, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is sufficient for us. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for us. He will take care of us. That's another meaning of name Al-Hasib. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Another third meaning of Al-Hasib is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide each of His creation of what they need in this life. Believers, non-believers, they're all the same. He created them, He brought them to this earth, so He's going to provide for them.
Like breathing air.
Like breathing air, yes sir. Breathing air, eating food, clothes, everything. And Al-Hasib, it has a language meaning in Arabic that's mean the highest of status, of a status in a community or in a group of people. So the three main meanings we really need to keep every time we say Al-Hasib. Always remember Al-Hasib, that you are going to be held accountable for everything you do. Al-Hasib, Allah is sufficient for me. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. And this is one of the best dua you can have anytime. And the third one, that Allah will provide for me everything I need. Now, how are we going to translate this name Al-Hasib into our daily, real life issues? That's the practical aspect of this name. First, some brothers and sisters might have some issues with making dua. This name says that Allah will provide. When I say Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, Allah will take care of me. But they make dua and nothing happens. Actually, sometimes things get worse. Dua in general can be in two ways. Either you're asking Allah for something in this life, earthly things, or you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for something for Jannah and the Day of Judgment, about your deen, about your beliefs. Dua, sincere dua, it's not just dua. That's one of the biggest problems with some Muslims. You have to be sincere. You have to really believe that Allah listens and can provide. All the dua you do that will increase your iman for the Day of Judgment is generally accepted with no delay. But when it comes to earthly things, more money, I'm sick, I want to feel better, better wife, better husband, better kids. These, the true believer knows that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he really trusts in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is providing for him the best in this life. You might have a difficult husband, or a difficult wife, or a difficult child. But maybe because something you did in the past and Allah trying to erase your bad deeds. Maybe if you have too much money, you're going to end up spending this money in haram thing and end up in nar. So Allah won't give you that much money. You really don't know. You think that this matter is good for you, but the true believer knows Allah knows more. of course, and knows what's better for me, so he accepts everything. So even if the earthly dua does not get accepted, it's fine with it. But if you're really just making dua to have some extra money, it usually doesn't work. Because there's no sincerity in the dua. Another practical aspect in real life. When you say, when these people say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, Allah is sufficient for us. How Allah is sufficient for us? He's enough. He will take care of us. Why is that? Because if we go back at least of what we studied in these halaqas about Allah's characters, He is the powerful, the absolute power. He knows everything. He's capable of doing everything. He knows everything. He hears everything. He's providing you and everybody else with everything. These people are going to come and hurt you. Allah creates them. Allah runs their lives. Allah can take their lives. Every aspect in your life is controlled by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you are submitting all your matters to Him, not to someone like you, another human being, or your money that you can lose. Another human being probably weaker than you are, is going to die just like you and me, or something else. You are dealing with the one who created everything. If you sincerely believe in Him and say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakil, it's sufficient for us. And that is really the absolute freedom that everybody talks about in these days for a human being. You know, we hear the free world, freedom, free countries, whatever it is. What is freedom? The true freedom that any human being can have is really only the true believer. How is that? When you say freedom, what's that mean? In the terms now that you can do whatever you want. Okay, what you want to do? What are you want to do? People want to have more money, more ladies, more status, more power. Okay, all these things. Let's take the money. The freedom to have whatever money you want, you can collect it any way you want. Are you really free to collect the money? You have to work. So you really have to submit your time, your efforts, a big part of your life to work to get that money. So you're not really free. Ladies, the same thing, you have to chase them. If you want to reach a powerful state in somebody, you have to do this and this and that. So you're really not free. You think you are, and even when you get there, the money will go, or you will go, or you're going to get sick that you won't even enjoy the money. The same thing with the power. You can have the highest, whatever present, and then what? I mean, we see every once in a while, subhanAllah, Allah shows us famous people, rich people commit suicide. I mean, they have everything they want, and they're pretty famous. But they commit suicide. So in real life, you have to be submitted to something. And unfortunately, if it's a creature like you, or materialistic like you, that materialistic and that creature is limited. Is limited. But if you submit to the Creator, has no limits. So you're not bound by the money, by the position, by anything else. You are the one his power has no limits. His knowledge has no limits. Money has limits. I mean, you have $10 billion. How many hamburgers you will eat if you went to the restaurant? And how much does it cost? How many pants you can wear? Even if you buy 100 pants, you can only wear one at a time. You only have one bed. So all these earthly things are limited, and you are attached to it. I mean, I've known people who work like crazy, have no life. So the true freedom is when you submit it, Hasbi Allahu ni'mal wakeel, you submit it to the one who has no limits. So you always satisfy whatever you have. Because your goal is not to have $1 million in the bank. Your goal is much higher. I mean, recently we've seen in the events where people actually got to the presidency and a year later they end up in jail. In front of our eyes. One day he has the power to tell anybody to do whatever they want, and the next day he can't even control what he can eat or drink. So the true freedom really is for the true believer who submitted to the name Al-Hasib. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for me. That's one of the practical applications. So don't be taken by these words, free country, free. It's not free. I don't know if you have experience with seeing people on drugs or people who do some bad things. There is no freedom. There is no freedom. There is total submission to the filthiest, lowest thing in life. But somehow it turns and it's called freedom. You can do whatever you want. You can't do whatever you want. You have to submit to something because you are a creature. Allah created you that way, and He created you to submit to Him by your choice. If you don't choose to submit to Him, you have to submit to something. There's no escape. Another practical aspect, and this is very important. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for me. Before you say this word, you have to take whatever causes and things that Allah gave to you in this life. Because that's Allah as causes for things to happen. Simple example to simplify things. You go to college, you go to school. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put it in His universe, Allah. To achieve something in this life, you have to do something in this life. To succeed in your study, you have to actually study. If you have a farm and you want to raise something, you have to go to the field and put the things and use the best things available so your crops will grow. Because you and the non-believer are the same. You have to take these causes. So I can't just sit at home, let's say looking for a job. I don't even look for a job, I don't do whatever is needed to do a job, and they say, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for me. He will bring for me whatever the job I need. Or a student, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for me. He will take care of me. I believe in Him. That doesn't work. First, you take the cause that Allah created. I mean, this is his way of telling you, if you want to attain this, do this. Because if you don't do it, you're actually disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you take the cause, you do the best you can. And then, after you do what you can, then you say, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. That is the true Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Who's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Think for a moment. He's the one, the last prophet. He's one of the highest prophets. When Allah ordered him to go from Mecca to Medina, did he just say Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, right on the thing and just walked? I mean, he planned. Allah who took him to Jerusalem and then up there, and he capable of taking him from Mecca to Medina? But the Prophet prepared, he chose a different route, he chose people, he prepared like nothing else. And after all that, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. He is teaching us examples. Allah is capable of taking him to Medina with nothing. But He is teaching us, you have to take the cause, no matter what it is. And that's the problem why most of the Muslims countries in these days, we are low. We are behind. And the non-Muslims are higher. Why? Because they followed Allah's way in certain things. Actually, they're following Sharia law. This country is following some of the Sharia law. That's why they're successful. But we don't. We just say, Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel, some of us, some countries, and we think that Allah will take care of everything. Allah takes care of everything, but you have to do your part. So Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel has to come with you taking cause. Now, after you studied, let's say, and you studied on the day that you have a test, you have an illness, and you're not capable of doing the test. Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah does not want me to pass. But you don't study, then you go take the test, and then you fail and say, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. You know, this Allah wants me to. No, Allah does not want you to be like this. You choose to be like that. So we have to take cause. We have to do our part as much as we can. Then we say, Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. That's the practical aspect of the name Al-Hasib. Allah is sufficient for me. The meaning of that name. And if you don't believe and practice sincerely Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, you enter into the circle of shirk, associating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If you depend on your son, your daughter, your money, they will take care of me, your work, your position, your group, whatever it is, if you truly believe these things are going to take care of you, you didn't say Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel truthfully. You take the cause, but you really truly believe it's not really the cause. It's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because you might depend on your child. Your child might die, might grow up not even look at you, and he might give you the most horrible time in your life. You might depend on your money. You might be struck with an illness. You wish that you can give anything you have just to have one day with no pain. So depending on anything beside Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is shirk. You take the cause. And actually by taking the cause, as I said, this cause is Allah's creation. He puts it for you. So when you take the cause, you are obeying Allah's orders. So when these guys have all these discoveries and they go find this and this and that and they invent things, that's what they're doing. Allah puts it there for us, but they are beat us to it. So they succeed. It doesn't matter if they're Muslims or non-Muslim, believers or non-believers. The law of gravity, it works and you can utilize it if a Muslim discover it or a non-Muslim discover it. And when you read the Quran, Allah has so many ayat in the Quran telling us to look into His creation and take the cause to discover about ourselves and our surroundings. And that includes in your deen, learning about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and about your deen. If you don't take the time and the effort to learn, it's just not going to work. I mean, entering Jannah is not by doing 2 rak'ahs and paying $2. I mean, you're talking about forever happiness. It's going to take some work, some efforts. And one of the practical aspects of this name is always when you have hard time and calamities, when things start getting really tight, whatever it is with yourself, with your family, with your community, with our ummah, always hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel, sincerely. Do what you're supposed to be doing. And say hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for me. Why He is sufficient? Because He is the creator of everything. So everything you get scared of, no matter what it is, it's Allah's creation. It's Allah's creation. He is capable of let it do or don't, say or not. And the last practical aspect of this is, before you get held accountable what you did, sit down and act like you holding yourself accountable what you did every day. Review what you did. See what have you done, how you can fix it. Everything is fixable before the last moment of death comes. Review your accounts, review what you did, and see what you did before. You will be held accountable for everything you did. That's another practical aspect of this name, Al-Hasib, holding accountable. So Al-Hasib, very brief review, is one of Allah's name. It's mentioned in the Quran. It has the meaning that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hold us accountable for everything. Everything we do, always rest assured that Allah is going to ask us about it. Al-Hasib also means Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for me. Every time you have hard times, every time you start doing something, do what needs to be done to achieve that task, and then say Hasbi Allah wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for me. He will take care of me and take care of everything I need. And Al-Hasib also, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the provider of me, of everything I need, and He is the provider for everyone in this universe what they need. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.